1900, the river was our highway, and people began to settle on the Barrier Island side, which was called Orchid, and of course on the mainland side. But there was no way to get in between. So in the early 1920s, they built the first bridge in Vero, and that followed quickly with a bridge at Quay, which is now Winter Beach, and the third bridge was at Wabasso. Unfortunately, there was no way to get through the channels by the boat, so they had to have a bridge tender. And each bridge had a little house where the bridge tender lived with his family. His duty was to open those swing channels for the boats to go through. When we've talked to the children of the bridge tenders, they never realized what a wonderful life experience that was.
My daddy accepted the job through Merrill Barber, who was a senator at the time, for the Vero Beach Bridge in 1938. So when I was 2 weeks old, on February the 1st, we moved onto that bridge. And that house actually had 2 bedrooms and a living room and a kitchen of sorts and a toilet, not a bathroom, no tub. We took our baths in a number 3, if we were lucky, a number 3 wash tub, otherwise number 2. I lived on that bridge until they tore it down and the first Barber Bridge was built in 1951. And then my dad requested that he move to the bridge in Wabasso because it had a house on it and the bridge was at a level where he could fish off of it. So we moved up there in 1951, and my dad died still living there in 1965. The bus picked us up right at our door. That was one plus, because some kids had to walk to catch the bus. Fishing was my entertainment. I loved to go. We had a big dock under our house, and I went down there and fished, and shrimp with my daddy. And I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it, but now I'd like to go back and do it again. A boat would blow its horn 3 times, day or night. There was no time schedule. And before you opened that bridge, and it was a swing bridge, on the far side of that draw, you had to close that gate so the cars wouldn't run into the river, although some did. And then on the west side, there was a gate. So when that boat blew its horn, if we were not in school, we did not dare wait for our daddy to say, close the gate. When we heard it, we could hear it as good as he did, and we closed the gate. And then when he got through, we knew we had to run across and open that gate so the cars could go. We didn't realize we were special at the time. I mean, that was our home. I lived there from the time I was 2 weeks old. I lived over the water, had no yard to play in. I had to get permission every time I went outside until my daddy made a lock on the door that we could lift from the inside to open the door. But we just stayed in the house most of the time. My poor mother lived with 5 youngins growing up under her feet and never able to tell them to go outside and play. So it was a different experience, but it was home. My daddy made us know that we were to be proud of it. It was our home.
I guess I was about 13 when we moved on that bridge. Well, when we got moved in, I'd learned where I shouldn't go. And I learned how to get in and out of the house. We had a downstairs. I found out where that was and where to find all the shrimp and the meat wells. And I learned how to open the drawbridge. And if the wind was blowing, sometimes it would take 2 people to open it. And at one time, I remember it took my dad and my mother and myself to open it because the wind was blowing too hard. I feel I was really fortunate to learn as much as I did while I lived on that bridge.
We were here at the Winter Beach Bridge, I think probably from around 39 to 43. Fishing was the biggest thing over here. Everybody came over here to fish. My dad had boats, and he would rent them out or take them out on parties or something of that sort. But we were always able to stay here and open the bridge for them, unless you turned it too fast, and it would get caught and go on the other side of where it was supposed to stop and have to get help to get it closed. But we just loved that. That was just the most fun. We were here during the war, and the Coast Guard would have to come over here and check the boats out, and also all the cars that would go back and forth to make sure that they didn't have any enemies in them. This was just a wonderful place to grow up, and I really hate the fact that the kids can't know this place like we did. We were just totally blessed by being able to live over here and grow up in that time.
I did not live on the bridge. I lived over in Winter Beach. There were 3 bridges going across the river, and those were wooden bridges. And when you ride across, you hear them go clankety, clankety, clankety. And some people were afraid to go across the bridges because they made noises. At times, there were fires on those bridges. Why? Somebody could flick a cigarette on the bridge, being dried lumber, it would go into the fire. It could have been that maybe some people wanted a new bridge and thought if they burned the bridge down, perhaps the bridge organization would put in a new bridge. And it could have been a jealousy factor, because at one time there was some jealousy between Winter Beach and Vero, because Winter Beach almost became the county seat. And so there was some animosity. So all those factors, speculation, they could have been, they might have been, we do not know, factors. I have a house in Wabassa, and from my bedroom at night, before they began to put the Beaker Bridge in, I remember hearing the toot, toot, toot of the boat, and I thought, you know, that's so interesting. I wonder about the people who are on that boat. I wonder where they're going. It calls your imagination to run wild. For the families and children living on the bridges, it was demanding because the children played a vital part in the unity of the family. So it's a matter of really helping unify the family by living on the bridges.
You know, the history of the bridges and the bridge tenders has been very fascinating. A lot of people don't even know we had bridge tenders in the middle of the river, and especially with their own families. So these interviews with the children of the bridge tenders has been very important, not only to give us perspective on the lifestyle during those eras, but for the future. We kind of wish for the old Florida where you could go out and live in the middle of the river and fish every day and enjoy Florida.